let's begin with today's very interesting topic. Like, why am I saying interesting? Actually, most of the topics and all the topics are very interesting for me. So today I have taken up something that we all can learn from. Okay, so there is a thing called as emotions. We all know that. I hope we are not alien to it. So whenever we are talking about emotions, okay, or what am I saying? Do we talk about emotions? I don't think so. Some of us do, some of us don't. Or what I can rephrase it and say that most of the times we don't. Okay, so I will read out the topic again for each one of you, or for the ones who are joining me now. How to practice emotional first aid. Have you heard of something like that? Do we really practice emotional first aid? What does that mean? We have only practicing physical first aid. It's like we have been told that when we are kids, okay, if we have a fall or if something happens, we have a first aid box at home, we have a first aid box at schools and so many places. Why? Because we are taking care of the first aid. Why? If there is some hurt that anyone is experiencing physically, okay, in that situation, we tend to take care of the other person, we take care of ourselves, and so on and so forth. But when it comes to emotions, are we even aware that something is not right? So there is no question of having a first aid at all. Okay, I will give you a few more examples which maybe you can start connecting of how we are, not doing things for our emotions. Okay, the first one could be that, for example, if you have a child, okay, or as a child, you have been told that you need to brush twice a week, that you need to brush your teeth twice. Sorry, what did I say? You need to brush your teeth twice in a day. Okay, before going to sleep, you have to do that. And and okay, now I'm going to turn it around. What if I tell you that you need to brush your teeth only twice a week? Is that going to be all right? Is that going to be oral hygiene? Is that going to be anything of that sort? No, not at all. Okay. So when we are teaching such things to kids, okay, when we are teaching so many things to children of how you have to have a bath daily, how you have to groom yourself, okay, how you have to, brush your teeth before going to sleep, how you have to gargle your mouth, so many tips that we have been fed in our head since we are children. So, have any one of you ever heard when you were a child that you need to express your emotions? If you're feeling bad, okay, or if you're not feeling good about anything, you need to come and tell your mom, or you need to come and tell your dad. You need to go to the teacher and discuss about it. Even in today's day, when our kids refer to us in the counseling or therapy sessions, when it's worse, when they're showing symptoms which the parents can't handle. Okay, so why do we reach such a stage? Why do we have to, as a society, reach such a stage where we are not able, okay, to understand what the other person is feeling? Why are we are in 2021 and still, okay, we don't even know what is emotional hygiene. We very well know what is physical hygiene. Like, even in the pandemic, it has been now drilled onto our heads that everybody needs to do so and so things, okay, to have a physical hygiene. Did anybody speak about the impact of what it had in our minds? That fear, that uncertainty, that not knowing what is going to happen tomorrow, okay, that was such an impact. Okay, it has triggered an impact of PTSD, okay, post traumatic stress disorder, for so many across the globe. But nobody wants to talk about that except a few mental health care professionals who are talking, and then it's easy to forget. It's so easy to do that. But today, specifically for the next 20 minutes, we are going to address what are emotions, and we are going to talk all about emotions, so that, as I said last time, we are going to set the tone for the week. And you are going to do certain activities for yourself, okay, during the entire week, and keep a tab on your emotions. And if anybody requires it, you are going to be in a position to help them with giving them emotional first aid. Okay, so now let's begin with a very, very interesting story. Now this is a real life story which my maternal grandmother used to tell me when I was a child, and she used to tell me a lot of lovely stories. So out of that, this is one of my favorites, and at the same time something that would make me feel very weird when I heard that. So she used to tell me this, that she had a best friend when she was in school, maybe the second or the third grade, and from that time onwards they reached the higher school, the higher secondary, and there suddenly it occurred to both of them, okay, based on the influence of the other group friends, that they should not talk to each other for a day. And the next day, okay, they came to school. So one whole day, at the age where there was no social media, where there were no proper telephone lines at everybody's house, where they were living in a country setup. So at that time, the next day, she told me they went to school, and to her surprise, she didn't talk to the friend. The best friend didn't talk to her, but they were sitting in the same bench. Why? Because they had to keep up that who will break the silence first. The other next day, okay, the day after, again the same thing. So now this time during the recess, her friend changed the bench, because obviously it's like your best friend, you have been meeting, talking, discussing everything for so many years, and suddenly they don't talk to you. So there was a lot of uneasiness happening. Then the friend, okay, now what do you do as a human to cope up? What do? You go and make new friends. You start talking to different people, because you're a social animal. You cannot not talk to people, okay? So they started talking to other people, and slowly and steadily they used to look at each other. But the question, who will talk first? Then it turned into, why is she not talking first? And it always used to be in the mind of my grandma, why didn't she talk first? And that way, okay, she lost a friend. She lost her best friend forever. They didn't talk for years, not after school, not after they were married. And obviously, I was a grandchild and she was reciting the story. And something about that used to make me very, very uneasy while listening. It used to have an impact like a physical pain, that why didn't she talk? What is so big? What is so big of an ego that you can't say, hey, what's wrong with you? Okay, even if it's a wrong starting statement, just say something. And why am I talking about this on a public platform, okay, when we are talking about practicing emotional aid? Because they both did not have their emotional first aid kits. The emotional first aid kits, the first point for all of you today is to recognize if you are feeling loneliness and how to identify. Okay, so now this is a classic story and a scenario for each one of you. Reason being that, okay, if for example you are there with crowds, they were in school, so school has so many girls and so many boys, so many kids together. So in that scenario, what people generally feel, that it's not possible for someone to feel lonely. What do we say? There are so many people with you. What do we say? That you're not living in a jungle. These are the statements that we utter. But loneliness also depends on the relationship with each other. Your loneliness could also be about that one person. It doesn't have to be a group. So what happens to you is that, for example, if such a scenario has occurred in your life, that due to some emotional distress or due to some reason you have cut off with your friends, or you have cut off with your family, or you're staying in such a place, like so many people went into isolation in pandemic during quarantine and so many things. So all the people whom most of them whom we have spoken to, they have said that it was a bad experience, even if they had all their electronic gadgets with them. Why? Because social connections are so important. And loneliness is not a nice thing. And loneliness, there is something also called as chronic loneliness. And that can really, really leave you, okay, as if you are having a symptoms of physical pain. So do not allow your ego Do not allow that false ego to come in between. For example, if you feel, or if you're waiting for a call of a friend, or if you're waiting for a call of someone, okay, who is dear to you and they haven't called, give them a benefit of doubt. It's okay. Just think maybe they are caught up somewhere. And then when you pick up the phone, you can talk nicely rather than uttering the first statement, why didn't you call me? Okay, because that's going to set a wrong tone again. And then get to know that what happened when you all fixed a time with each other and why didn't you all call each other, rather than building up this thing which my grandmother did with her friend of she will talk first, no, she will talk first, and then the whole world is between your relationship. So please do not allow this, like literally this mental disease of loneliness to seep in between you and any of your relationships. Your relationships are far too precious than even allowing this. And also, there is another thought that comes in. This is another damaging thought which I have identified many times, that comes in whenever we counsel. We get to hear so many, I will not say stories, incidences of our clients. So the common thought that always comes in is that I think the other person who's not contacted yet, okay, cares a lot lesser than they used to care earlier. So can you see the assumptions that the mind has started to make? And let me tell you, your mind is a very, very tricky thing. Okay, it will trick you to so many negative emotions and to so many negative things that you will even forget that all the nice things that you have shared with that person or with the group of people. And you will not be in a position to verify because you already have a lot of negative thinking going on there. And we are going to address how to change that also. So now let me give you a gist about emotions after we heard this story. Okay, now when we talk about emotions, we have a spectrum of emotions. It is not one or two emotion, we have a variety of them, but they stem out of these common ones. One is anger, which can go to anger or hate or fury or rage, okay, or aggression. That is something which is very common. Then we have fear. Now, fear can go to terror, it can go to panic, okay, and it can go to so many other things. It can even go on a lower side. Then we have sadness. Now, sadness can go to despair, and sadness can also go to means having a sense of rejection and so many other things. So that way, we have many emotions. So we have this 5 or 6 main emotions like anger, like fear, sadness. We have guilt, we have disgust, and out of this, there springs all the other emotions. So the core is always these 5 or 6 emotions. And where do they come from? Do they come from your heart? No, they come from the chemical imbalances in your brain. And if I tell you that these emotions which are there, okay, they are such a waste. No, the negative emotions also are there for a learning. Now, for example, fear. We cannot say that I am going to live a life which is I am free of fear. No. For example, if you decide that it is so exciting to do a bungee jumping without a rope from the terrace of your building, that's not something that you want to do. Fear is going to help you because fear will remind you of the consequences of what will happen if you do that. What are the potential risks? So everything in balance is also a very, very good emotional hygiene. Anger, sometimes we need to let off steam, we need to express what we feel, okay, but it is about that. You don't have to carry that in your heart for the rest of your life about what who did to you or what the situation made out of you. That's not the idea. So what I'm trying to say is that express your emotions, okay, and just leave it at there. You are not going to carry the baggage with you. You're not going to keep on carrying. Imagine if you are walking on the path, okay, and then every pebble that you see represents one negative emotion that you have felt. And if you keep on putting in your bag, after a point, you will not be able to walk carrying the bag because you have already loaded yourself with so much that it is burdening you. You're feeling heavy and so many other ill effects of that, okay. And then in our brain we have something called as the limbic system, And that is where all the emotions are sensed and regulated. And another thing, memory, okay? The memories that we have, they are the ones who are kind of responsible for capturing those emotions and keeping. Because when we see someone, what do we say? Last time this person did this to me, or the last time I met so and so, this was the experience. So then that's how we relate it to be a good experience or not so good experience. But what are we missing here? We are missing that if instead of keeping grudges, instead of keeping memories which are not going to help us, we are not taking that as something that our mind has experienced and moving forward with it. Now, one, we have spoken about loneliness. The second factor that I would like to speak about today is failure. Now, failure per se is not an emotion, but then the emotions that you feel when you experience failure. Okay, so now I'll tell you a short story of a research that was done about failure. Okay, so there were 3 toddlers in the room, and they all were given boxes. Now, with these boxes, they were given that, you know, how you have a jack in the box kind of a thing. So then they had to press a button, and once they press that button, okay, there will be a toy that will pop out of the box, and that was about it. So they were given the boxes, but they were not given the instructions of what they need to do. So the first child, he tried to push the wrong button. Nothing happened. Okay. So in that thing, what came out? Anger, that how, what is it with this box, and frustration. So then the kid started crying out loud. Okay. Looking at that, the second kid also just looked at the first one is crying. So then, without even trying, the second kid also started crying out loudly. So now there are 2 toddlers out of 3 who are just crying. The third one, okay, she tried to press this button, the button at the side, tried to open the box and did everything. And somehow she did press the red button, and then the toy popped out. And she was giggling and laughing and so joyful to even see that she's successful. So, what's the difference between the 3 kids? One tried once, didn't bother, felt dejected, felt frustrated, reacted in crying. The second one just mimicked him, okay? And the third one, she was witnessing what happened. But what she did was she went ahead and she kept trying. She did not give up at that point. Is there a reason for that? We don't know. But then one reason what I can tell you is that everybody processes emotions differently. Her social upbringing, what her parents teach her, and so many other things. So nature and nurture, 50-50% are responsible for the personality you become and the emotions that you exhibit. So failure, when do you, overcome failure? Only when you keep trying enough. Only when you never give up. It may sound as easy, but then you have to keep on doing that. If you want to succeed, you have to find out many ways to one problem. So it's not about that one problem, one solution. Sometimes you need to find your way around it. So there are so many aspects of that. But then if you are going to sit with the failure, okay, it is going to have a negative impact even on your health. So it may be a very, very, minor thing, but at the same time, if you're going to keep on mulling over the same thing, you are going to create some issues in your physical health, which we will come to later. Then the third thing, which the society very, very well does, is comparison. So now where does this comparison come from? Right from when you're a child, when you go to, your school, and then especially the exam time, after that you have your marks declared, most of them, okay, either the parent will have unrealistic expectations of their child, or they start feeling lesser, that what did the other friend's child or what did the classmate score compared to their own child. Or if there are 2 siblings, sometimes unknowingly, so many times the parent compare not only for marks, but then for their behavior, for their qualities, that you are like this, why don't you do this, why don't you do that? And that is not the correct word. That is not practicing emotional hygiene. And what are you passing on to your children? What are you passing on to even yourself? Okay. And unknowingly, so many times the comparison leads in to another demon called as self-criticism. The comparison and the expectation of always exceeding, okay, the expectation of always being successful is going to create a monster inside of you known as self-criticism. You are even so you're going to criticize yourself even before somebody else does, so that you already start feeling bad, and then you will not leave an opportunity for anybody else to come and do that to you. Why? Because you've already done that. You've already felt lesser, you've already made yourself lesser, and then you have already told yourself that you're not good enough. The fourth thing that we are going to see today is another, very big thing that impacts our emotional hygiene, which is known as rejection. So now here, there was a research conducted on rejection, okay? So in a waiting room, okay, in a lobby, there were many people, okay? They were waiting for an interview, you can say. And out of that, okay, one had a ball, okay? So the one guy threw the ball to another one. He caught it. So then he threw it to the third one. So we will name them A, B, and C. So A threw the ball to B. B passed it on to C. And C passed it on to A. So for quite some time, they were doing this with each other because they were getting bored, and they were very happy doing that. They were giggling and laughing, and suddenly it was told already to A to pass the ball to B, and to B to pass the ball to A. So then the game of three people, in strangers, okay, they don't know each other, the game of these three strangers just became two. So it was only A and B who were playing, and intentionally they left out C. Even if it was a stranger, generally, what do we think that we will react? It's okay, I don't know them, they can do whatever they want. No. When the responses were recorded, and when the C was asked that how did she feel, she said that she felt pain. She felt that she was left out and she was ignored. Okay. So she felt rejection, even in that 5-10 minutes where she was just involved, like playing a ball game with two strangers, and leaving her out, she felt rejected. So rejection is, so deep. We don't have to feel rejected with our known people. We can feel rejected with anyone. Now, for example, if you are waiting for your turn and there is your name and someone skips your name and calls somebody else, you will get angry, or you will get agitated, or you will feel, what is this? I was here first. Don't we do that? Even those are the little, which we don't notice, which are in the category of rejection. So what happens there exactly? So when you feel rejected, again, like loneliness, the impact in your brain is just as much like a physical pain. The impact is like a physical pain that's happening to you. Rumination, that is the last one which we are going to see today. So what is rumination? Who ruminates? The cattle, okay? Generally, you will see the cow chewing the cud. So whenever they want to keep on eating, they'll keep on chewing it. So that is what we do with our thoughts. When we are just sitting idle, when we decide that today I'm free and I don't want anything to do, slowly there is a negative thought that will seep in, and you will start ruminating over that. And then that negative thought is going to lead to something else and something else and something else. And over a period of time, you have created like a huge ball of negative thoughts. And what happens? That weakens your immune system. Okay. And all the 5 things which I have said, I have spoken about loneliness, I've spoken about failure, comparison, rejection, and rumination. Okay. All these 5 things are known to have effect on your health, on your physical health. Okay. They are known to have effect on your blood pressure levels, your stress levels, lowering your immune system, and they are experts in creating cardiovascular diseases. So if you are going to love having any of these, okay, you can follow all those things. You can practice loneliness, you can practice failure, or you can practice them in combinations. And I can guarantee you that you're never going to be happy in life. So now you have to decide, okay, it is a choice that you have to make after listening to this, whatever I have been speaking, that when such things come up, what do I do? First thing you can do, speak to a friend. Okay. And please select and speak to a friend. At such situations, do not speak to a friend who is usually, has a habit of teasing you or has a habit of mocking you. Speak to someone whom you know will give you a ear. Speak to someone who will listen to you. Else, if you have a therapist, you can speak to a therapist. If any of these things on the list you are having or you are experiencing too much of that for no reason, you're feeling confused about what is happening. You don't only have to run to a therapist when you're recommended or when things are blown out of proportion that now you cannot handle it. You can also practice good mental health. So, what do you do? Firstly, to practice emotional first aid, as I said, talk to a friend, talk to a loved one whom you know will listen to you. Okay. Even if they are not going to soothe you by saying, no, no, you're correct, you're wrong. But even someone listening to you makes a huge difference. It immediately lowers your stress levels and it gives you a breather to really think about what you need to do. Second, do not trust your memories. Over a period of time, it is said that the brain forms 50% of false memories. So please do not ruminate over your past memories. They all may not be true. They may be little stories that your mind has created in order for you to feel good that something bad happened to you. So please do not trust all your thoughts. Third, 90% of our thoughts are repeated thoughts. Okay, that's when I spoke about rumination. So please do not trust your thoughts all the time. They can be damaging. Rather, even if you divert your mind, okay, for a few minutes, if you are getting this repeat, just get up from the space and move, or else have a sip of water, or go in the kitchen or prepare something, or then just eat a fruit. So when you distract your mind, you can fight all these five demons. You can fight loneliness, failure, comparison, rejection, and rumination. And journaling, okay, that is one more important thing which you can practice. Put a note of your thoughts so that when you read them, you know that where which direction are you heading. Okay. And if you feel that you're not heading in a good direction, or this is not something that you can manage, please seek help of a therapist or a mental health care professional who will be able to help you and who will be able to guide you. So this is what I wanted to speak about today, about how to practice emotional first aid. If you have any questions, you can leave that in the comment section. And also, next Monday, I'm going to come up with another new topic, which is going to help you, handle your emotions better. And if you have any topic that you want me to speak on, you can leave it in the comment section, or you can also write to us at universe.wellbeing@gmail.com. And you can check our YouTube. We have our Instagram, and our Facebook is the one that's very active. So you can check our social media. You will find a lot of videos and a lot of content which will help you sail through in case if you are not in a great position emotionally, and that is okay. Identifying that you're not feeling good is also the first step to practice emotional first aid, and the same way of how you can help others. So if you really liked what I spoke and if you liked the video, please share it with as many as possible. You never know who you can help in such a situation. So this is me, Natasha, signing off for today, and have a great week ahead and have a great day. Thank you.